Greetings, friends. Randall Nagy here. I wanted to take a moment once again to introduce you to a project that we launched just today that we're sharing with you so as to help us document the built-in features and functions of modern Python. Created under an hour ago, we're calling the project the BLT report, and our official mascot is the bacon, lettuce, and tomato sandwich, partly because BLT is a nice contraction where we eliminate the vowels, of course, from built, because much like the bacon, lettuce, and tomato sandwich, you never really know what's in there until you open things up and take a look, and that's exactly what we're going to do with the built-in report project. So our mission is very straightforward, at least at the eye level. The first thing we want to do, of course, is to allow the Pythoneer, in this case myself, to open up a software creation that will allow us to show anything we haven't created a video for. We're going to call that an unvideo feature. And once we discover a feature we haven't created a video for, the next scenario will be to create a short and simple feature video that we can share with you, and then, of course, update our feature set to mark what we've just covered as having been covered. And by way of a bonus, the real value of the BLT report, I think, is to allow us to compare features between Python versions, not only across operating systems, but across major dot revisions as well. So the basic objective here is to have two files. One is going to have an eval diff report.py, and located on GitHub, of course, you'll see that the purpose of eval diff report is to simply create a eval file for each one of the Python documented version identifiers. And the next thing on GitHub you're going to want to be aware of is a BLT report.py, where we're going to be tracking both our covered as well as uncovered features as we, of course, export the eval for us to compare. So far from simply being a project that I want to work on, I would invite you to run the BLT report and then share your eval files with the rest of us so that we too can track the changes and talk about the differences between any newer or older version of Python that you're running on your operating system as well. Setting our sights on covering a very familiar set of features, realizing that if you're like me, you weren't born knowing Python, and you might have to learn, for example, what Boolean and none type are all about. So our first short video will cover the false, the none, the true, and the Boolean keywords. And running as we are with Python version 3.10, we have 159 total things we can talk about, but less than 100 to start documenting Python's many built-in features, functions, classes, as well as operations. So for those who do not know, whenever we have something that's built-in, of course, we can use Python's built-in type, for example, to take a look at none, because that's built in. And we'll see that the none token, in addition to being one of the 3 keywords in Python that are uppercased, defines a class known as none type. So if we enter in none and take a look at the underscore, of course, we'll once again see that we have a none type. And we also might want to take a look at the type false, so as to see that false represents a type of Boolean, and true also is a representation of the Boolean type. Now, the interesting thing about true and false is that at the time of this recording, the member functions of both Boolean and true are pretty much the same as what we see in the instance of integer, which is also an instance of something we're calling type. But when we create an instance of the int class, in this case, typing in int 7, for example, we'll see that we see a good deal of what we saw with our Boolean class as well. Also remember, the mission of Python is to take what we type in and convert it to an object, and that's why I like to say everything is indeed an object in Python, And in this case, whether we use the type of an integer to create an instance of 7, or we simply typed in 9 with the human string, Python's REPL mode for read, evaluate, print, and loop would convert what we type in to an object by virtue of the E in REPL, or Python's built-in evaluation function. No matter how we create an instance of integer or an instance of Boolean, we can see they're related, and that's why we can evaluate either a Boolean 1 or a Boolean 0 to either being true or false, as you see here. Very short, simple, and to the point, and covering the basics for Pythoneers who are just getting started in the wonderful world of Python. Our mission is to cover each and every built-in function as our time permits. So while we have a very quick video, we did indeed cover a good deal of information. Short, sweet, and to the point. We covered the 3 uppercase keywords we have in Python, namely the true, the false, as well as the none. We also covered built-ins, and although we lightly touched on int and eval, the point was to cover bool, and I'm sure we'll be covering both int and eval deeper in future sessions. And of course, we did cover the REPL mode, which comes down to Python being able to read things or using the input function and evaluate things that it has read using the eval function. Then checking to see if things are done. And if things are done, of course, it will use the quit or the exit function. Ultimately, to use the print function, so as to continue using the continue keyword to loop back to our read operation. And of course, another great reason to be doing the built-in reporting is to allow us to create as well as review our PyQuest questions, which explains our little friend Hootie down here at the bottom of the card, and allows us to make sure that you can prepare for the interview question of KA 1002 about the REPL, in which somebody could possibly ask you, what is the REPL? And you would either respond that all objects are replaceable, or 2, the answer we just gave, of course, read, evaluate, print, and loop. 3, the default version of Python. 4, a well-known research and design pattern. Or 5, none of the above. Looking at the Boolean basics now as well, so as to say that Boolean values are either 1, true or false. 2, can include none. 3, all default return types. 4, Boolean values may be lowercase, or 5, all of the above. Inspiring a new PyQuest question today, we coined KA 1060 about evaluations, where you should now be confident in telling everybody that when we pass the string bool with a parameter of 1, while evaluating that Python expression, 1, raise an exception, 2, return true, 3, return false, 4, return none type, or 5, none of the above. Well, that completes our very first voyage into the built-in report. And until we meet again, happy Pythoneering, and I am indeed looking forward to seeing you in the professional software development world.